Siyata D'Shmaya, as we get ready, we prepare ourselves for Meichen Kedaboy for the Chag of Chanukah Ba'aleinu L'Tova. Let's turn with Siyata D'Shmaya to the choice terminology in the Ala Nisim of Chanukah. First thing we notice, of course, is the length. In contrast to the length of the Ala Nisim B'Nogea Purim, it's far more bekitzer, far more succinct. But when it comes to Chanukah, we go on and on. So the chayra, is very musbar, that's very understandable. After all, the Gemara says in Shabbos Chafala from a base, and that Lashona Cheres Lashona Bo, what do they do? Kavu Shmonis Yemei Chanukah Asam V'Kovim Yom Meilu. Halo v'hoda. Here we find v'kavu shmonis mechanak elu lahodus ul halal. We discussed in the past why in Al Anisim it's lahodus ul halal, and in the Gemara in Shabbos Chafal on base it's yomim elu b'halo v'hoda. The order, interestingly enough, is reversed. But Akaponim, why were they kaveya these days? The whole Metzias, the whole Etzem Hus, the days of Chanukah are days of lahodus ul halal shimcha gadol. After all, what does the Rambam talk about? The days where we have halal sholem, and when we don't have the halal, we don't have a simcha. Where is that? In Hilchos Chanukah. Chanukah is the day of, these are the days, Be'etzem, Atz Meyusam, that bespeak this lofty notion of the wholeness of Halel. That's where the Rambam is Marich and Inyoni Halel, and that's L'chayra quite appropriately, where we are Marich in the Al Nisim. So I understand we want to be Marich, but L'chayra, what do you want to be Marich? And the Nisim, the same way in the Maral writes in Gevurah Hashem, I thought when it comes to the shvach of the Borei Olam, we have a sugya in Brochas Taflam and Gimel and Beis that Kami Shvach the Marach when not the Marach. And the end of the day, you're not supposed to even repeat certain inyonim. We have heavy Kimeslotzeitz Mechsik Shtev Yishtu Yisol Mod Demodim Meshaskan. So you don't go on. So what are we doing? Lel Yitzias Atzrayim. That's why Rav Magolius, by the way, parenthetically in his Haggadah, Be'er Miriam on the Haggadah Shapesach, he says, why is the choice terminology the Bal Haggadah call a Maber Lesapi Yitzias Atzrayim a reason Shubach. Why is it a reason of Shubach? Because the Gemara says that you're not supposed to be Marbeh because Hareza Maguna. Maguna Udahavi Shuke Lomushaskinale, but it's Maguna. It's Rashi says heavy Kimislotzeit, so you don't repeat. Again, Machlokes Rishon, whether it's repeating words or repeating Psukim. Salafuke, where it's Hareza Maguna to be Marach and the Shvach of the Borei Olam by the Nari Yetziv time Hareza Meshubach. But La Maisa, why isn't Meshubach now Maguna? Why are we Marach? Maral says when Nisim happened to you, you just go on and on. The same with Lahavda, you come back from a vacation. An article in Reader's Digest I read years ago, up to 50% of the geschmack of a vacation is coming back and sharing the experiences. Oh, you got to see my journal, you got to see the pictures, you got to see the videos. The videos, sharing the experience, and other people can then live it vicariously through you. That's up to half the experience. That's why the Kunchas Seikis writes, I give you tickets, you go on a trip around the world, and you can't share the experience. Who's going to go on a trip around the world? Out tonight, you can't talk about it with anyone. Who's going to go? He says, that's why I'm writing my Sfarim. I went a trip around, I went through the sea of the Yama Torah, the Yama Talmud. I went swimming, and the Yama Talmud, I got to share the experiences. I got to share my Chadushu. He says, that's why he's writing the Kunchas Asveikas, V'chulai, the brother of the K'tzais, says, that's why I'm giving you my Sfarim. So we want to be Marbel. When Maral says, when an ace happens to you, you can't stop talking about it. That's an Einus Yitzrayim. You want to go on and on. So what do you want to go on and on about? You want to go on about the nace. I understand if you want to be marach, that makes sense. And we're going to highlight it was Rabbi Miyan Ma'atim was Tmeim B'yat Torah Mechulei, and the Rishon B'yat Tzadikim. I understand all that. And you want to be, but Lamaisa, one interesting addition stands out. And what is that? Well, number one, we had B'mei Mordechai V'Esther B'Shushan. We didn't talk at all about their yichus. We mentioned the name in the Megillah, that I understand. Mordechai, Ben Kish, Shemini, that I understand. But May Mordechai Vester, you're just telling me over the facts. So I don't need to know anything. You don't need to delineate the lineage. It's stated Mordechai Vester. And yet when we start out the Alanis of Chanukah, I understand you want to be Marach, and you want to be Marach in the Nes. But my nafkamina, B'mei Matasyo, Ben Yochanan, Kamei Goda Chashmon, Vanov. I got to be Margish what? That it was Matasyo, Ben Yochanan, Kamei Goda, and it was Chashmon, Uvanov, and the children. And let's go through it. It's Mama Shapella. So what happened? And then we find what's this hadgosha on the bonnet? We started out Ben Yochanan Chashmoniyu Vanav. Why all the extra words? What's the city of the bonnet? And we find it in most or B'nai Vina. B'nai Vina. What's B'nai Vina? What's this idea of the bonnet? What's so interesting is Chanukah itself is Gematria 89, Gematria Taf. Taf, we know children are referred to as Taf, Chagigat, Av Gimel, and Aleph. Taf, Lamabam, Taf is Gematria 89, Chanukah is Gematria 89. Chanukah, you can't ignore. Yes, the Marsha, Chanukah is Loshen Chinuch, Chinuch HaMizbeach, Chinuch HaBayis, many different Mefarshim. Yes, the Lavush Avadram, Ches Neiros, Halacha, Kebeisila, but you can't ignore. Chanukah, Astamazai is Loshen Chinuch, Chinuch HaBonim, it's Avada Chinuch HaMizbeach, and it's Chinuch HaBayis, Chinuch of reconsecrating, re-inaugurating the Bayis. So you can't ignore the obvious correlation with the Indian of Chinuch HaBonim. Not only that, the Gemara says in Shabbos Chafalo and Beis Amar Huna, Harogil Baner, Zalmaner is what? Having you the Bonim Tamidachah. What Shaychas? Harogil Baner, you can have great Bonim. We know it's also a Metzias and Chanukah. While we wait for the kids to come home, everybody lights together, everyone's lining around. So you have Chanukah Loshen Chinuch, you have Chanukah Gematria 89, Gematria Tav, you have Ben Yochanan, Chashmini Uvanav, Achakach Bo Vanecha, and you have Bnei Vina, Yemei Shmona. What's this Indian Chanukah, Chinuch HaBonim? It's all about the Bonim. Why this Hadgash Miyachedes? We spoke about Bonim in the past. Rav David Cohen has a beautiful piece in his Yemei Chanukah of David Cohen from Chevron. We gave a Mahalach in the past, Al Pi Yosef HaTzadik, the Megalamukas, is going to get Chanukah. But perhaps another idea this evening with Siyata D'Shmai. We have a famous kasha of the Pnei Yeshua and the Sugya in Chanukah. Pnei Yeshua frekta the kasha. My Chanukah, the Gemara goes on to be marich, all about the Neser of Pach Shemen. Now it's a big Shiloh Chaim Kanevsky. Many Sfarim talk about Hawaii to Sifsei Chaim, many Sfarim discuss the interesting contrast that in the Al Nisim we don't mention anything about the Neser of Pach Shemen. It's all about the Mechama, and understandably so. After all, the Ikar Nitzachon is what Al Nisim, the Al Mechama. So we're thanking Eibishter for the Mechama. We're thanking him for the Nitzachon. It was a miracle in and of itself. We don't mention a word about the Neser of Pach Shemen. Yes, Aliku Neiris V'Chatros. How is a separate Indian? That's not the Neser of Pach Shemen. And yet you have the Gemara in Shabbos Chafam and Beis, the bottom of my Chanukah. We talk about the Neser of Pach Shemen. We don't mention anything about the Mechama. So what's going on over here? The Nusach Al Anisim. It's all about the Mechama, not about the Ner. And my Chanukah is all about the Ner. Okay, what were they kaveya the Yontif for? They were kaveya the Yontif, the Neser of Pach Shemen. Maral's famous answer in his Ner Mitzvah touches it upon it as well. And his Chudash HaGaras Maral says, you're right. The Iker Nes was, of course, the Mechama. Or is the Tachlis and Neser Pach Shemen? Neser Mechama, sometimes people, just like the miraculous victories in the 6-day war, Yom Kippur War, it's military strategy, it's military tactics, they plan things. You can always dismiss it as what? Something that you could explain. We know it was all the Mailam and Ateva. So the Eibishter says to reinforce that even the Nisim that accompanied the Mechama were all Kokulu, the Mailam and Ateva. I'm going to give you a Nes, the Kuli Yamamodi, and Neser Pach Shemen, which makes no sense. And the Olam Ateva, it's going to be Kokulu, the Mailam and Ateva, a minuscule amount is going to last for the duration of 8 days, and that's going to highlight to one and all that it's a Giloi Milsa. Even on the Neis Mechama, you think you can explain it away. Military tactics and strategy, it's all a Mailam and Atzava. So that's Giloi the Giloi Milsa. So even the Maral's understanding, but said, I didn't need the Neis and Pach Shemen. The whole idea is what? We have the Yavanim, we have the Mechama, we had a miraculous victory on the battlefield. Now it's what? Chanukah, like Loshen Chanukah, Levush, and so many. What's Chanukah? The whole idea is now we rested. Chanu Me'ayvei, and now I can get back to doing what we're supposed to do, which is the Avodas HaKodesh, back to the bias, Chanukah, Chinuch HaMizbeach, Chinuch HaBayis, and that's what it's all about. I don't need an Neser of Pach Shemen. That's Meyuchad in the Beis HaMikdash. The Kohanim got to see it, and not everybody even saw it. So in the end of the day, it's a Gila Mills. Okay, but that's why I didn't really need it. An Kedekal, the Pnei Yeshua says, not only did you not need it, but even if you wanted to like the menorah, we have a klal, famous Gemara Pesachim, Dafayin Zayin and Aleph. Halach l'maisa, we have an Indian of Pesach Sheni. If you have somebody who's Tamei Meis and he can't be makar the Karim, but what if Rovat Tzibor Tamei Meisim, like they were B'Shas Chanukah, when you had the Mechama B'Chulei, Rovat the Tzibor are going to be Tamei Meisim. So then you don't push it off because too much of a Tzibor, so you don't push things off, and everyone's going to be makar the Karim Pesach, and they're going to do it on Lel Yadalid as we typically have. So we have a klal, too much of a famous kasha of Pnei Yeshua. So what do you need the whole Neis? And the end of the day, the Neis is complete. And Eibishter's Ramban writes a Parshas Noach. Eibishter's Mamayid Benisim. We don't do Eibishter doesn't do Nisim stop. That's why the famous Ramban, he says, in the end of the day, why did Noach have to spend 120 years building this gargantuan teva? And the end of the day, it didn't make any sense. It was still going to be Miat is going to be Kolas and Maruba, it's gonna be Koleta, it's gonna be Lamalam and Atzev anyway. So when you have to spend up to, you can put everyone in a shoebox. Remember the old Savta Simcha bag? Right? She pulls everything out of this little bag. It doesn't fit. Have the them all walk into a shoebox. All the animals go, it's going to be an Eisa. So no. Hashem is Mamayit Ben Isa. Now it's Tamazoi. Build the Teva, and this way at least it can hold so many. It's make it. But you still have to do Lamaisa. Sabester doesn't do an Isim Stam. So what's the Tachlis in Eis Hashem? Famous guys of Yeshua. We have the famous answer. The Rosh Kulger talks about it in the Zagos and Simon Tofrei Shai in the beginning of Chanukah and Or Chaim. We have Rabbi Yosef Engel of Anortas Giyone Hashas on the Gemara Shabbos Chafal and Beis, and many others talk about this idea as well. Shem Yishmuel and know the context that when it comes to a Shas Chinuch, Tahainu, when you want to inaugurate something, you want to talk about the Shas Haschola, the Nekudas Haschola, you don't play any games. The Nekudas Haschola, we know Seifa Bosa Reisha Gorir. The end is always dragged after the beginning. If the beginning is messed up, the end is going to get messed up. Rosh Chodesh of Tzaddik writes all throughout Pri Tzaddik. Rosh Chodesh, all the kaiches for the whole month are already tummed, they're ready latent and buried within the Rosh Chodesh. That's why it's the Rosh Chodesh. It's the Rosh of the Chodesh. Seifa, Bosa, Reisha, Gorir. It all comes down to the Rosh. The brain triggers everything else, what's going on in the mind. So too, the Rosh Chodesh, writes the Arizal, is the Rosh, Bechinas HaRosh, that's Koveya, the Hashpa and the Shefan, that's going to be Noveya from the Rosh Chodesh and then dispersed throughout the ensuing days of that respective month. In the end of the day, it all comes down to the beginning. The famous Feiner, he says, that's what we're talking about Tevas Noach. Why did Noach deserve to get punished? That he was a little late in feeding the lion, and the lion bit it. The guy's going he's going the Frimishos in. He's serving, he's showing me the Sarachim, he's being masaking that he didn't. He's going out of his way to care for Racham of a Komaisam. He's a couple minutes late. You're going to let the lion bite him. You don't understand. This lion is going to be the shirish of every future lion that's ever going to be in the world. If you mess up his DNA and you don't feed him right, you don't tend to the lion's myriad needs, you don't make sure that everything is mamish kadasa kadin, then it's going to manifest itself in some lion later on. And the end of the day, right, whatever you took onto the teva, these had to be perfect, right? Except we know the old famous kasha, did they go fishing on Noah's Ark? Of course they didn't go fishing, they only had 2 worms. Alright, in the end of the day, I'll let you absorb that one for a second. They only had 2 worms. They couldn't do any fishing. And I bet you those worms were geschmacka worms, because every subsequent worm was going to come out of that worm. Every elephant, every lion was going to suck the hunder. Any little pagam, it didn't get its food on time, then it's going to manifest itself, if not in this particular lion and subsequent lions, it's ingrained in the DNA. That's the beginning. The beginning is all the key. Zog to thee, Rabbi Yosef Engel, Zog to Shlomo Kulger, and others, when it comes to the Shas HaSchola, you can't mess up. This is Chanukah. It's Chanukah Samizbeach Marsha. It's Chanukah Sabayis. Yes, we can be Saimech, but Yeva Tumuchu Mitzibur, as the Shem Yishmuel know this proof. Tumuchu Mitzibur doesn't mean the tumah goes away. It's not nostalgically gamri. It's there. It's just a new Bazundar Adin. That Tumuchu Mitzibur we can live and deal, will cope with the new Mitzias of Tumuchu Mitzibur. Over here by Chanukah Sabayis, the beginning, the Shas HaSchola, it's got to be perfect. It's got to be precious. That's it. No tumah, nothing else mixed in. Amela can still to the famous Marshal. We have a Gemara in Bava Metzia Pehayim at base. Ahomaisa Rav Chia. What did the Heilige Rav Chia do? Kadei Shalom Nishtak Tormi Yisrael. He went out and he planted. He was Areya Pishtan, and then he made the nets, and then he caught the deer. He caught all the deer, and then what did he do? He skinned the hides and he made klaf, and then he wrote Chamisha Chum Shaitar, and then he went to a Choli of a year, and he was malawid all the Yeladim, all the Tinaikas. Frak the Marshal. What do you want to be? So just go in and write Sifrei Torah. No, if I have to buy cloth, I don't know the machshavas that the Seicha might have put into it, and I don't know the deer, who caught the deer, maybe he caught him on Shabbos. I don't want any games. When it comes to the Aschola, after all, the Gemara on Shabbos, Kefiyat and Beis, Rama Milchas Talmud Torah, Perek Beis Alachaleh, the whole world ain't all the Miskai. This is the Girsid Yankis Hevel. You can't play any games with this. As the Gemara says later on, when Shlokish gives us the Maimer, but you didn't see you can't be Madama. Hevel Piyam that has chait, Hevel Piyam that doesn't have any chait, and out to him chait. These tough, the Heilige tough, you don't play any games. So the Shas HaSchola, Zok the Marshan Churusha Gadas, you don't play any games. Over here, he wants to make sure I'm going to catch the deer myself. I'm going to make the nets. I don't want to get any stolen nets. Every stage of the process, from the very outset, from the moment of commencing, the whole long Barachi is taken away all the time. Why? Because I want it to be B'Kedusha V'Tara. I don't want to take any stolen items. I want it to be B'Kedusha V'Tara. So, and that's why he preserved the Kedusha Satira. Chanukah is Loshen Chinuch Habanim. We have a famous Rambam. Rambam at the end of Chanukah Bergdal Olchiyad Beis. Mitzvah Chanukah Mitzvah Chaviv Hi Ad Ma'od. Take a look at the Frankel Rambam. Nobody on Chavivas. Why Dam Chavivas? Yes, many Sifrei Machshava. However, here, not Stam Chaviva. It's not Stam Divrei Sefer. And Purim's also be Divrei Sefer for many other mitzvahs. This is Chaviva, but it's Chaviva Ad Mod. V'tzor Chodem Lizar Bro. Kedei Lo DNA. So why should he be Zar? Right? So Magen Mishnah. Vitzah Chavachuli brings the Gemara in Shabbos Chav Gimel Meizam Ravuna Haraga Maner Chanukah. Having the bottom Tamid Chacham. So you see, it's so Chavavos. Again, what's Shaychus? What's going on here? Perhaps the idea is as follows. I like the kasha of the Pnei Yeshua and the others. What's the chavivos? You know why it's so chaviv? It's what kedei lahodia hanes. What's so miyuchad about this nes? The Eibishter doesn't do nisim stam. It wasn't necessary. This nes wasn't necessary. We didn't need a miracle. Every miracle, the Eibishter, I want to save Noach, I got to do a nes and make sure the mambo, he's going to be saved. The Eibishter doesn't stam do nisim. Perhaps one idea of many, and the chavivos amiyuchedes over here is that the Eibishter shows such a godly achibus. The same way the Chido writes in Rosh David and Parsha Semor, and one of his answers is Shem Chaim Kesufi. We don't have any mitzvah deraisa connected the man of the bear, only connected sikus and any covered. It's already the yesod of the mabit and basal Kim Shar Yesod is per Klaman Zayin. He already highlights this idea. What was miyuchad about the sukkah? Hey, Mr. You don't need a sukkah. You don't need another covered. You need bear. You need to drink. So I'll give you miraculous water. You need to eat. I'll give you miraculous bread. I'll give you them on. You didn't need a portable dry cleaner, portable air conditioning service to protect us, to shield us from the Shemesh. That was all chibah seira. So I say this is mamish not stam chibah. You see this chavivi ad ba'od. Why? Because it's not only B'divrei Seifrim, which is ingrained with the automatic chavivas. This shows such a chivivas because the miracle wasn't necessary. God, what was necessary? You want to save us? Allah teshuas, Allah machamas, we had a machama, and you saved us from the challah. We needed to be saved. And we got back to the avoda. Who needs this miracle? 200 b'tzibra. Halach l'maisa. We can go ahead and continue the whole malachas mikdash as is. It wasn't necessary, and you did a miracle anyway. Hashem, you don't do miracles. This is what just to show us. Shechina shel Rabbi Yisrael. Just to show us you're with us, you're giving us a gavaldig miracle. Why? Why are you giving us a miracle? Because Hashem, you care so much about us. And we want the Nekudas HaSchola. We're re-inaugurating, reconsecrating. We want it to be, Hashem says, you want it to be Tor Legamri Mei HaSchola. I'm going to give you a miracle. It's not necessary. You have too much to so why am I giving you this miracle? And you don't need it. You already emerged victorious on the battlefield. You already got rid of the Hellenists and the Misyavim. You got the Avodas, Beis HaMikdash back. So just be Samech Hanolach Lamaisa. No. Chavivi Mode. Abishur gave us a miracle stam, even though we didn't need to. And are you this nace? Thank the Abishur for everything, because this nace shows us even when we're not deserving of a nace, especially b'nei Yisoschodik v'chulei, like we said in the past. Chanukah was only a miyat chashmanon. We didn't even have the requisite isusa de l'tasa. Purim, everybody went out and fasted 3 days. Over here, we didn't even do it. That's why it's spinning from the top and at the bottom, as we discussed in bed. Over here, it wasn't a requisite. The Eibishter loves us so much, and you don't even need them. I'm going to give you an Eisan Chaviv. Now that you understand that, and you're going to be Zohir, as you're going to see what Hashem gives you an ace. Why? Ach v'rak, because when it comes to the Nekudas HaSchol, it's got to be perfect. Now Shteltzu, the Marshana comes out Kishma. Azokti Lachamisha, Haragel, Azor Bener, having the Bonim Tamidacham. Why? Yazor Bener, and you understand the Chashivas, your Modia, the Nace, and you look and you're lighting the kingdoms, you say, wait a second, I'm lighting the Nace per Suminisa. Why? Because Eibishter gave us a miracle of Hashem. What was the Pap Shemen? I don't need the Nace. The Nace was only because of the Chavivas, to what that Beshas, the Hascholas Ha'inyan. You want to consecrate to my bias? I want you to do it b'kedusha b'tara me'aschol on the side. So the Feiner Eibishter says, if you recognize that in your rugam and your zov and then what's the midah connected me to have no bonus to midah chamim like Rav Chia went? Then you have Evel Piyat Tinok Shabeis Ramon. Why are they going to be bonus to midah chum? Because you're starting already from scratch. Ashrei Yoladato Perkei Avos Yochanan Matzaki when it came to Yeshua and Prachia. And Avos Park Base, Mishnah Ches, Zok the Bar Tanura, Zok the Gra, Asher Yelanato, P. the Yerushalmi, and Yevomas and Aleph Hey, Asher Yelanato, different Gersos. His mother took him when she was pregnant, when he was Huto Barasoso, and took him ready to hear the Kedusha, ready from the beginning. He's not even born yet. She's pregnant. I wanted to pick up the Kol Torah, walking in proximity to the Bata Krisias. Bata Raz wanted to pick up the Kol Torah. That's Asher Yelanato. That's why he became great. That's why the Marot Sins and the Aderis and his Kuntra Zechla Mikdash on Inyani Mitzvahs Hakel. That's why the Meshach Chacham writes a parsha Vayilach, why we seen Yispo Rabbi Yeshua, Taf Lamabon by Hakel Kedil Havi Yisrael Me'avim. He says, because I was the kid. I understand Taf. Why do those of Nazariah say? Why are you bringing Taf? They don't understand anything. No, already at the beginning, incipient stages of their chinuch, bring them to Hakel. They're not going to chop. Those are making afkamina. Let them just absorb the kedusha. Start them out with kedusha b'tara. That's Asher Yelata. That's Yushami Nevamas. The Feiner Taiti. That's over here. What's Chanukah? Chanukah is what? The miracle wasn't necessary. We didn't need it. What's it here for? To show us the chashivas. Eibishter says, you want to start off a new chinuch with kedusha b'tara. I'm going to give you an unnecessary miracle just to go ahead and reinforce. You want to start things off. Now it's Geshmak. That's Marshan. That's Obchiyah. But Matziyah Pahayim and Beis. Mela, if you're Zoyer in the Ner and you understand what you're doing, what's a midah? Can I mean have like bonim tamid chachamim? Then you understand the chashivas. You're going to be mashki a lot of kaichas, a lot of time into the girsidyan kusins and hevel piyim. You're going to make sure to be mechanich them. Mela, b'mei matasyo ben Yochanan kohen gadol chashma mani uvanov v'achakach bo vanechal lidver beisecha b'nei vino yemei shmono. The young children lighting their own candles. Everybody here together, Neresh Rabbi, the family together. The children lighting alongside the father. Chanukah Gematria 89, Gematria Taf. Ka Taf Lamabam Kedei Lau Yischaim Meivim. Chanukah Loshen Chinuch. All comes down to the bonim. It's all about the bonim. The Chinuch HaBonim. If you understand the chashivus of the chavivus of the Neis Chanukah, that even though it wasn't necessary, we had a Pach Shemen to reinforce how chashiv the Nekudas HaSchol is. When you're starting at an Indian of Chinuch, you got to make sure it's all beginning with the Kedusha B'Tara. Amela Mida Kenemida is bonim Tamid Chachamim. B'nei Vina. Shmak achikach bo v'necha chashvini uvanov Chanukah Gematria Tav Chanukah Loshen Chinuch HaBonim bonim tamid chachamim. You understand the chashivas, you'll be mashkia the kochas, and understand the chavivus of giving the time and attention to each and every child. Chanukah, everybody together as one. Hatzlocha Freilich and Chanukah Pedem et Hashem Chanani ben Akash Yom Ratzak